welcome to the Victorious Soul Podcast. This is episode 21, I think. I think last week was episode 20. It was a big milestone, and today is episode 21. It's a Saturday. I usually release my episodes on Fridays, but I was busy this week and didn't get recorded and didn't get it out. It would have been yesterday, so I'm going to be a bit late. So this will probably come out like on a Monday or Tuesday or something. Anyway, it's October 9th. We're in the first full week of October is over already. October is it feels like a really beautiful month and easy to lose it. The weather, all the trees are turning, and the weather isn't really that cold yet. I don't think we've dropped below 45 at night even yet. I haven't seen a frost, and the leaves are still on most of the deciduous trees pretty green still. So I don't think, of course, it's not just light change that causes the leaves to drop, but also temperature. So I'm really lucky so far. And it's extended the fall out a little bit. There's been rainy days, there's been sunny days, so it's kind of perfect. Anyway, I have just a few things to show you. I actually knit on some stuff this week. I haven't been knitting very much this year in general, but I did start a design. A new idea that I'm playing with a fingerless mittens, and I'm hoping that will be really useful for me at farmer's market when I wear mittens outside in the winter. There's a little dog right there. That's Tucker. I'm watching him for a friend. This is the fingerless mitten, and it has a little cable in the ribbing, and then it will have a reverse stockinette. And I really like this. It may not end up being, what I publish will probably be a little different, because this is just the first little bit of me playing around and like trying to figure out which cables I like and how it will transition, and I need, to knit. This is sort of like a swatch / decision-making piece that I have this idea and I doodle it, and then I have to see if it's going to work out. And in a piece this small, you might as well just like sort of do it, make it, and then be like, well, it's a little bit wide here right now for mine when I put my hand in there. It's too wide, but that can all be adjusted, the numbers and everything. One of the crazy things is when I cast this on, I just like didn't figure any stitch counts out at all. I just cast on to this little circular, and I had an even number, which is always good when you want to rib something. And it was also a number that was divisible by 4, which means you can do a 2x2 rib. So I didn't plan for that, and it just happened. And then, so I had exactly the number to like equally distribute the cable. So that's just a really great place to start. Something that worked out, and I'm going to try to grade it for at least 3 sizes. I didn't work on it much this week. I think this is probably my Monday work, and I think I worked on it maybe Friday. Because I work for a couple other businesses, and obviously do my own stuff, my own design work, and then sometimes I'm adding on other little bits and odds and ends, and so my body was like, no pressure to do more. So I've been taking it as easy as I could with all the other things I've got going on. So this is the progress I made. I think I was even already thinking of a name. I might call it Winter Market Mittens, the Winter Market Mittens, or something like that, or Farmers Market Mittens or something, because that's literally what I'm making them for me, and I will be wearing them all winter. I think I said last time that the 2 pairs of fingerless mittens that I wear that are tucked into my jackets year-round have big holes. They're just like, I think one pair came from Target like more than a decade ago, and I have another blue pair. And anyway, they kind of have to be fingerless because I need my finger for using my phone, for the Square Reader, for all the transactions that we do. And I could get a stylist, I guess, and wear mittens. I am making a pair of mittens, so we'll see. Maybe I'll have to do something like that. I probably will want to wear those too. Anyway, we'll see what happens. But these are going to be fingerless. And I'm hoping to do the cable on the wrist and on the top of the hand, you know, when it comes right here. And then I'm also going to do a little cable on the thumb. If you've seen my zebra mittens, they have a cable on the back of the hand running up, and then there's a cable on the little thumb, and that little thumb cable is so cute. And I want to do it again. This yarn is Custom Woollen Mills, which is a small mill in, I think it's Ontario, could be on Alberta, can't remember, one of the provinces in Canada. And they have a very affordable yarn, and it's a bit rustic. I always put it against my face and my neck to see like what it would be like. Of course, it's gonna be on my hands, so it's not as, doesn't need to be as soft, but it's pretty nice. And I'm confident that when I wash it, like a lot of rustic wools, when you wash them, every time you wash them, they get a little softer. Just looking for that pup. He's really cute. The other work in progress that I have, I said I was going to try to finish it, and then I questioned whether or not that was going to happen, and I was right. I didn't finish it. I'm still on number 1, but I got the trees. The trees are in black, and I finished the trailer, and then there's the little, the fire. This is the fire, and then the smoke. It's really cute. It's a really cute design. I am using DK. I'm using Kelbourne Woolens Scout, I believe, which is an awesome yarn. It's great for color work. I knit another color work cowl earlier this year out of it, which I love. And what was I going to say about this? I had to alter the pattern. There were trees and then mountains and then a moon and stars. So cute. It's really cute. It's called the Happy Glamper mitten. But I'm using DK. So even though the gauge fits my hand around, I knew that there was going to be too much in the rows were going to be too high. So I took out the mountains, and I'm in the process of making the moon. This is the base of the moon. Yeah, I'm happy with it. It looks great, and I'm sure it'll look even better when I block it. I love blocking. I love this underside, and this is the little thumb. I'm gonna have to come back in here and take out this straight line of white and do like an afterthought thumb. So yeah, that's a fun project. As I keep saying when I talk about it, it's not something I can watch, or I can't watch Korean TV. I watch a lot of Korean television with subtitles, and I can't read and follow the pattern. And so it's something I have to, like, I'm going to just knit this. So I need to set some time aside for that. I also grabbed, these were kind of on the back of the couch. It's cold enough now that I need a hand knit socks. I am still wearing my Kygies house slippers all the time, which I love, but they don't have an ankle, so it's been a little bit colder, and I've needed to wear an extra long pair. I like long ankles. This yarn is Pressed Flowers is the colorway. It's from Lichen&Lace. This is her sock yarn. I think it's 80/20. And these socks fit really, really well. It's just a basic vanilla sock pattern that I think I pulled different numbers from different things. It's very similar to the numbers from Joji Locatelli's Paris socks. I think Paris Midnight something. I'll list it below in the show notes. But I had just made those when I made these, and so I think the heel is done, classic heel flap and gusset in a similar way, and I think I just copied her cast on numbers that are pretty standard. And then the toe is, I did a rounded toe, I think, instead of a pointed toe. And somebody had asked me, I think when I first knit these, which was last year, I posted about it to Instagram, and someone said, oh, do you have a pattern? And I think it's useful to have a lot of vanilla sock patterns. It's just there are so many out there that it's not a priority for me to write it up. I think I wrote the notes down. The other thing I will say about sock knitting and sock patterns is that the gauge matters a lot when you do a sock pattern. If you want it to fit in a certain way, if you want it to like hug your foot and not like slouch or get stretched out as you wear it, if you want it to not be like too stretched and sort of make your foot feel like it's, you know, so I'm particular about my socks. I'm sure a lot of people are. And a lot of folks, it seems like a lot of knitters don't necessarily gauge swatch for socks because you should just start the sock. But then, of course, I've run into lots of sock issues because of gauge. You just start sock yarn knitting with a yarn that you've never used before, and it gives you a sock that looks okay, and then you can't get it over your heel or that kind of stuff. So it really is finding a good fitting pair of socks is a good pattern, but also like a yarn that you understand and you've had some practice with, and understanding how different stitch patterns will affect the fit of the sock. I have a pair of, I think it's Pebbles and Pathways by Hey Brownberry it was the first pair of socks I ever did that had a stitch pattern on the top of the foot, but not on the bottom, which a lot of socks are like that. And I had to knit it super long because it seemed like because the pattern on the top sort of squinched the yarn in a little bit. And I think I ended up with them being a little bit too long. I gave them to my mom, but they ended up being a little too long for me, even though I kept trying them on, and then they seemed like they needed to be longer, and it was like super long foot, so that was a little misleading. And the yarn too was, I don't think ideal yarn for me. I like a plumper sock yarn as opposed to like really fine light worsted sock yarns that are almost like twine. I don't like those. I like a little bounce, and I like a little bit of just a bigger gauge, probably more like a DK. These are not a DK, but they are like thick. And I don't wear my socks so far in shoes, so I don't necessarily have a problem with bigger yarn. Anyway, it's a sock journey is what it is. It's not a destination. But I really like this colorway, and it was just a really fun, beautiful project. I am wearing today my No Frills. I knit this a couple years ago. I used Explorer Knits and Fibers. It's the Mauvelous colorway, and in her Rockies, I think. It was her Mohair and her Rockies fingering weight. And I really like it. It's cold enough for it. And then I paired it today with my Meridian line shawl that came out a couple weeks ago. And I got a little cold. I hurt my neck yesterday when I was sleeping. I kinked it, and so it's much better today, but I was putting a lot of Tiger Balm on, which makes you cold, and so then I put on a scarf to keep me from getting cold. The other thing I wanted to talk about that I forgot to talk about last week was was what I wrote my most recent newsletter about, which was buying patterns. Sorry. Buying patterns when you don't need a pattern. I wrote a little sweet little ode to supporting indie pattern writers and designers, and sort of like the whole concept of like stashing patterns, which I think a lot of knitters do already. I just wanted to sort of, if anybody needed like permission, they feel like they need permission to buy a pattern that they're not going to use right away, or like sometimes it came out of a couple of times I heard people say when I released this, I really, really like it, but I'm not a knitter. And if I ever become a knitter, I'll buy your patterns. Or I'm not knitting right now, but I really liked it. And it was like, well, you don't have to be knitting it soon. And it's just because I do that. I have been buying patterns all year. I've got probably like, I don't know, at least more than 300. I mean, if you count the pattern books I collected pattern books for a while, like in the early 2000s when I was just beginning to learn how to knit, and Interweave magazine had so many beautiful books, a lot of which I've sold back to my local bookstore if I wasn't going to use them, but I have some of them still. And just like buying patterns. I think for a while I was really just buying any pattern that I saw that I liked. And I know how many patterns I sell because it's part of, if I do my taxes at the end of the year, I have to look through all those expenses and stuff. So I like have a stack of like patterns. I think last year, 2020's stack and 2019 stack was rather large. I have cut it back this year. But I did start gift a pattern day on the 15th of every month for this exact purpose, which is that even if you don't need a pattern, you want to support a maker and you want to gift something to a friend, you can combine those two things together and you can support both people. And it's just it's a good reminder every month for me to think about giving to someone else. Some people are really good at that already. But I wanted to encourage anybody that you don't have to need a pattern to purchase one. You don't have to be a knitter. You don't have to have the time right now or the yarn or anything it is. If you like something and you want to support the person, then it's an easy win-win. And it'll be stored in your computer or can store on Ravelry, or you can print it out and put it in a binder, whatever it is. And just wanted to talk about that a little bit more. There's a essay that Nora Ephron, who is a writer and director, she's passed away, but she wrote When Harry Met Sally and You've Got Mail and Sleepless in Seattle. She I wrote several essay books. Was a really funny person. And she wrote this essay about being able to justify, I haven't read it in a while, so I have to paraphrase or summarize what it's about. She lived in New York City for a really long time, and she justify really expensive purchases by how many cups of coffee it would take to pay for the thing. So like if she would say, if I buy a $5 cup of coffee every day, then this expensive thing is only like 30 cups of coffee or something. Or the extreme one was, which is what I wrote about in my newsletter, is she for a time was renting a 5-bedroom apartment in New York for $10,000 a month. And that she did that, and she justified how many days of coffee would that be equivalent to. How many cups of coffee is $10,000 a month? It's just sort of a way of like whittling down it. It's really funny to me. And patterns, I relate that to pattern sales because patterns are roughly like, I receive roughly $5 for a pattern because there's, Ravelry fees and PayPal fees. Those are the places that I have to pay out 3 to 6% depending on the company. So it's like a $5 sale, and it's not very much, and it's barely the price of a cup of coffee. So support support independent pattern designers by purchasing a pattern. And you can do it on the 15th with me. I always purchase someone else's pattern and gift it to a friend. And sometimes I gift it to somebody who hasn't asked me for anything, and I sort of think, oh, this is kind of their style, or I will gift it to my mom, or gift it to, I have a friend who I know really well. We're always sharing patterns back and forth, and she'll say she likes something, and then I'll be like, oh, I'll just buy it right now and give it to you. It's just really fun. So, what was I going to say about that? Something else. Oh, just people have asked me, well, how do you gift something to someone? There's actually a button on Ravelry. If you go to a pattern, any pattern page, it'll say gift this pattern. And it'll take you through the same transactional procedure you would if you were buying it for yourself. It'll just have you put in a person's username, and it will send them, Ravelry will send them a notification that they've been gifted a pattern and by who. And so you can't really do it in secret. There's no really anonymous when you give someone something via email. But you can just write a little note, and I thought you'd like this. And I've had people gift things to me now, gift patterns to me. which I think is so sweet. Here I am trying to help people give patterns away, and someone gave a pattern to me. I thought that was really sweet. And the other way, if you don't want to purchase stuff on Ravelry, or the person you're purchasing for doesn't have a Ravelry account, you can just purchase it like you normally would online, and then send the pattern PDF to that person. And then I always want to say that if you're going to do that, if you're going to use the pattern for yourself, you should purchase 2 so that the designer gets the money for both people. Because there is always a copyright at the bottom of a pattern that says don't distribute this for anybody. This is you purchasing it for yourself. So if you're gifting it for someone else and you want it too, then you could buy 2 copies. And then it's fair. Anyway, that's my little spiel on supporting pattern designers. And if you're going to feel any sort of guilt about spending in the knitting community, patterns are like the least expensive thing out there. Knitting needles are usually more expensive. They can be anywhere from like $10 to $24 a pair. Yarn is much more expensive, so $5 for as a part of a project is really, really low. And I think just in the way that the community is set up right now, pattern designers are undervaluing their products already, because it takes something like 100 hours of work to produce a pattern from the idea to the sketch to the swatch to knitting the sample to writing it to having it tech edited, which is something I pay for, to having volunteers then test your design, giving their time, and if the designer has to manage everybody, keep track of everybody, keep track of all the information, and then you have to make changes to your pattern, and there's the photography. Some people pay for someone else to take photos. I take my own photos right now, but I have all this equipment I've purchased to do that. All the time it's taken for me to learn to take better photos. And then all the marketing we do to promote our patterns and getting our own website going. I host a website that I pay for every year. It's just so much that work that you're doing, and then all these little pieces of expenses and all the apps you have to use. And I pay for Lightroom and Adobe InDesign every month to use those apps, and dozens of other apps that I use and stuff. There's a lot, and every pattern sale counts. Anyway, you can find all of my designs on victoriaswool.com and on Ravelry. And I'm gonna put this on in the way that I love. Oh, cute. Anyway, I hope you're having a good week, and let me know in the comments what you're working on, and I'll see you next time.